Hello everyone and welcome back to Favorite Trek Moments. Today we're going to be looking at the TNG 4th season episode The Wounded. And in particular we're going to examine how the use of music can enhance storytelling. This episode introduced us to the Cardassians, who had recently signed a peace treaty with the Federation. However, Captain Benjamin Maxwell of the Starship Phoenix has apparently gone rogue and started attacking the Cardassians, and the Enterprise is assigned to track him down before he starts another war. We also learn that Chief O'Brien once served under Captain Maxwell on the Rutledge during the border wars.
The minstrel boy to the wall.
What's that you're singing?
What? Oh, it's just an old song.
And here we have the setup for the musical theme that will be continuing through this episode, where Chief O'Brien begins humming the old Irish song, The Minstrel Boy, and he goes on to explain more about the song and sing a little bit of it for Keiko.
His father's sword he hath girded on, and his wild harp slung behind him. Captain Maxwell always liked that song.
We'll be coming back to that point a little bit later on in the episode. Eventually, the Enterprise catches up with the Phoenix, where Captain Maxwell tries to justify his actions by insisting that he has evidence that the Cardassians are rearming for another conflict. However, Captain Picard thinks that Maxwell's actions are actually motivated by revenge after the loss of his family by a Cardassian attack on Setlik 3 during the border wars. At first, Captain Maxwell agrees to accompany the Enterprise back to Federation territory. However, along the way, they encounter a Cardassian supply ship, and there's a face-off between the Enterprise and the Phoenix when Maxwell wants to board the ship, but Picard refuses to allow this in an attempt to maintain peace with the Cardassians. Before this can come to a fight between the two ships, Chief O'Brien offers to beam over to see if he can get through to his old captain. And on the Phoenix, O'Brien and Maxwell reminisce about their times together on the Rutledge and about a crew member who was lost at Setlik 3.
What was that song of his? One he always sang, one I liked.
The minstrel boy to the war has gone.
So Chief O'Brien starts off alone at first, but then Captain Maxwell joins in.
His father's sword he hath girded on, and his wild harp slung behind him.
Now this scene is in no rush as the two old friends continue to sing the song for a bit, mentioning things like the possibility of all the world betraying you, which is probably how Captain Maxwell feels right now. But then they get to the end.
One sword at least thy rights shall guard, one faithful harp shall praise thee.
I'm sure it's no coincidence that Captain Maxwell falls silent during the last line, where Chief O'Brien, who has been his faithful harp throughout the episode, finishes it off. Because even while everyone in the Enterprise or among the Cardassians thinks that Maxwell has apparently gone crazy, O'Brien has been trying to defend him this whole time without necessarily justifying his actions. But it's ultimately the connection between Maxwell and O'Brien, which is underlined by this song that they both love, that finally gets through to Captain Maxwell.
I'm not going to win this one, am I, Chief?
No, sir.
And of course, the orchestra plays the theme from The Minstrel Boy as Maxwell finally gives in and realizes he's going to have to let this go and move on with his life. After this, Maxwell stands down, and the Enterprise and the Phoenix uneventfully return to the Federation space. And I've always thought this was a very memorable and moving moment in the end of this episode, with the connection between O'Brien and Maxwell and the scars that Maxwell's had to deal with from his old war and the loss of his family. And I think that the choice of the music and how it's peppered throughout the episode really adds to the gravitas of that scene. And the composers of Star Trek must have felt the same way, because several years later, in the final episode of Deep Space Nine, this theme is brought back to underscore one of Chief O'Brien's final appearances in the show. Really appreciate a little bit of thematic continuity achieved through music. But anyway, what do you guys think about this episode of this scene? Welcome any comments you might leave down below. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a blessed day.